Hey everyone, let's have a quick chat about We Are the Weather by Jonathan Safran Foer. This is a non-fiction about climate change. I listened to the audiobook, it's about 5 hours long, and I listened to it in one day. And I do have some more thoughts about the audiobook because I don't know if it's the right form to get to the book. In parts, it really helped me because it felt like we were having a conversation and he was talking to me about everything that he wanted to talk about concerning climate change. In other parts, I found it rather hard to keep track of the facts. So I kept skipping back and forth to really understand the facts that he's giving. So for the facts, the normal book would be better. For having a conversation and listening to him ramble on a bit, this is not a very precise, concise, fact-driven book. It has a lot of facts, but it has a lot of storytelling, which is actually what I liked about it. I've also read Eating Animals by him, which is his nonfiction book about veganism. And I couldn't help comparing those two, not only because he addresses eating animals a lot in We Are the Weather, but also because I like the tone in We Are the Weather a lot more than in Eating Animals. Eating Animals has really one purpose. You can feel that he wants you to stop eating animals, and he puts it that way that you feel bad if you do. I don't really, because I don't feel bad for the animals, and I do think that eating animals is not the problem, it's the amount of animals we eat. And in everything, it's if we overdo it, it is a problem. That is my personal opinion. And after reading Eating Animals, I thought a little bit different about what kind of meat, where the meat comes from, and I was more informed about everything. But I also felt that his tone was more aggressive and more preachy, hoping for change. Whereas in We Are the Weather, his tone is much more subdued. Is that the word? It's leaving room for doubt, for failure, for being human, for not being able to do things. His whole message in the book is mainly also to eat less meat, but for climate change reasons, because of the effect that meat production or factory farming has on CO2 emissions and in general on the climate factors. It is something that we personally can do. But what I liked more about We Are the Weather is that he doesn't preach it. He doesn't make it the one thing to do, that it's your responsibility, that you really have to do that, no exceptions. But he's more, it's hard, it's difficult. He talks about his own struggles in doing the right thing and how it's hard to even grasp climate change. I really like how he addresses the fact that climate change is really hard to understand and that we avoid the conversation, that we don't have conversations, that we don't talk about it. And that climate change has sort of an image problem, or it's not a good story. The whole beginning, I think he said it's about 60 pages, he spends not talking about what the book is actually about, but about storytelling, about how we think and what we understand and what works. And then he addresses the fact why he does that and talks about what the book actually wants to talk about. And then there's a long stretch of him having a conversation with himself, with thoughts he has, struggles he has, ideas he has with that, and the difficulties. And this makes this book a lot more endearing than Eating Animals, because it doesn't really tell you you are wrong if you don't do that, but it tells you try. And his main idea is don't eat meat until dinner. And I don't know if that's a good idea. I don't really eat that much meat. I'm not a vegetarian, I'm not a vegan, but I don't eat much meat. And I genuinely think that I like this book more because it's more along the things that I believe anyways. So not sure if that makes me impartial or biased, but I do like his message and his way of conveying his message in We Are the Weather a lot more than in Eating Animals. And like I said, it's a 5-hour audiobook. The book can't be that big. It's a fast read. You can fly through it. You can either get new information if you haven't thought about these things, or you can listen to him process the ideas and the struggles that I guess a lot of people have who really like to eat meat. Another thing I should mention is that Of course, a lot of it is always America-centered because he's American and he looks at the way Americans are raised, Americans live, and the American way of life and attitude and beliefs. And yeah, sometimes that can be annoying. On the other side, it can also be interesting to understand something about a different culture, how they think, what's normal for them, that you may not know from your culture. As you know, I'm German, so different culture. I think that was enough rambling about We Are the Weather. In general, I enjoyed the book. I thought it really had an interesting message and it conveyed it in an interesting way. I don't feel like I have to change a lot afterwards, but mostly because I'm doing that anyways, how he suggests to live. And so I don't know, it was a distraction. It was a nice read and I read everything by him. So let me know in comments if you have read We Are the Weather. What do you think about it? Thank you for watching. Bye bye.